this is Miro Heiskanen. He set the bar as the Stars' best player and the Stars' best skater, one of the best skaters in the league. So for him to get back to where he can be, it's not an easy task because he has such a high bar. But
the big question for Miro Heiskanen going into the 25-26 Dallas Stars season is, will he be back to what we expect of him as being one of the elite premier defensemen in the NHL following the big knee injury against the Vegas Golden Knights last season, the recovery, the return in the playoffs, and now his offseason? Alongside Craig Ludwig, Sam Nestler, I'm Owen Newkirk. Guys, the news we got earlier the week, August 4th, out of Finland, as they were doing a Olympic orientation camp ahead of next year's Winter Olympics, or this February's. Miro Heiskanen says, quote, "I'm 100% back to normal after the surgery. I've been able to practice all summer as usual." That seems like a massive... that sounds like a massive thing to hear from Miro Heiskanen because of how important he is to the Dallas Stars blue line.
Yeah, but then again, we go with he's been skating, and it's not really in contact, probably. I wouldn't expect there is. But I think the biggest thing coming off of an injury like that, and I think we saw it as the playoffs went along, that Miro was getting back what we expect from him. It's more from the neck up, and that's why I always look at once the season starts, because the other the opponent knows something going on with you, right? They know what it is. Everybody knows what it is now. So you're going to continually get tested, and it's going to, again, Miro's the guy that's going to, one of the first top 2-3 guys that'll have his name circled on the board, and they're going to say, we have to be hard on this guy because otherwise he can control the game. He controls it. What his knee is what the strength of his game is, his skating ability, and that's, you want to, we used to say this about a guy like Chris Chelios. When you're playing against Chelly, he was the head of the snake. You got to cut the head off. So I would say that that's kind of the analogy you use for a guy like Miro. You stop Miro, then a lot of their flow going north.
Well, let's follow that analogy. How difficult was it, or how easy was it to cut the head off the snake for Chelios vis-a-vis the same for Miro? It's not as easy as it is the game plan of, well, let's take him out and then the Stars will drop a bit.
Chelly doesn't die. Chelly's got more than 9 lives. So, unfortunately, I played more with him. I think, well, not necessarily. He played for 35 years. But I mean, Chelly fed off of that. Like, he's like, bring it. There's a lot of players like that. Miro, Miro, it doesn't have the same kind of pushback that a Chelios does. But his game is, like I said, I say all the time, like, most defensemen move that puck past people, right? And the strength of Miro is he has the ability to transport the puck with his legs. And he skates past the first guy coming out of his zone. And then when he gets to the second guy, he can still skate past him, but that's when coverage starts to break down. And now all of a sudden they've got to change their coverage. And that's when he either moves a puck or, distributes it or whatever he does with it. So, but I think there's going to, obviously all good players are targets. And it doesn't mean that there's going to be another stone that's going to go diving at his knee, which I go back to that. I don't think he did it on purpose, but regardless, they're not going to do that. But there are ways when you go into the corners, and when he's in the corner, you can get in there tight and you kind of bump him. They all know which leg it is and everything else. But the main thing is as long as he has it up here, then making contact him will be a lot more difficult than what I'm making it sound.
Sam, I would imagine that because he returned from the injury in the middle of the playoffs, it's better than if he had the surgery and then went into the offseason questioning whether it was surgically repaired and okay. Obviously, he didn't feel 100% when he came back. But as Lud said, it's up here. It's between the ears. As it grows, he feels more confident. And I would think that would have been just a springboard into his summer.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just looking at the numbers. We know they went 11-7 for the first bit when he came back, and he was playing 14, 18, and then all of a sudden he was back to Miro numbers, playing 24, 25 minutes a night. So Lud's talked about it a lot, how he just kind of looked a little bit stiff. He looked a little bit, he's a little slow in his pivots, a little slow in his turns. And as Lud said perfectly, it's not that we're looking at someone who we just need him to get back to this, median level. This is Miro Heiskanen. He set the bar as the Stars' best player and the Stars' best skater, one of the best skaters in the league. So for him to get back to where he can be, it's not an easy task because he has such a high bar. But the key for me was watching him slowly get to that point. And I think that by the time they were eliminated by Edmonton, he looked a lot more comfortable. Right?
Yeah, and I think a big part of that, why he looked more comfortable too, is getting used to a brace. And again, I've never worn one, but as I understand, they get lighter and lighter, and sometimes you don't even know that they're. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And again, I think that helps with your mind, knowing that if you do get hit from the side, one or the other, that you do have protection. Which
would he wear it again?
I would. I think he will, but I don't know. I mean, I most players do that I've played with that did wear braces. They just became so much more self-reliant on it, and there was like a whoopee. It was like a little security blanket for him.
Listen to this. This is the other quote from this article. It's in the NHL.com from a independent correspondent in Finland named Varpu Sivonen. Miro says, the knee got some rest after last season, and now I can do everything 100%. My confidence is back where it used to be now that my knee can take all the practice and feels fine.
I mean, that's all great to hear. And to go back to what you just asked, I don't know why you wouldn't wear a brace. I mean, again, if I'm the guys upstairs, I want you to wear it because, and again, it can happen again. And then I don't know if it ends up being more of a longer rehab if something has to happen if you do it a second time. I just don't know why you wouldn't. I've said this for a long time. I don't understand why kids aren't wearing them right off of 14 years old and just get used to them because they don't even know they're there. Once they're there, you don't even know. It's almost like preventative medicine. But I would be asking Miro, please wear it. I mean, why not?
Yeah. Is there any fear from someone? Do you have any doubt that maybe Miro or anyone that has an injury like this goes in with a little bit of that hesitancy of, I don't want this to happen again? Or is it just something that as a professional athlete, you just have to find a way to get over?
Not the way it sounds, not anymore. I think, and again, I think what Miro has to do, like, he made progress through the playoffs. He's had obviously a good offseason and he feels comfortable. Otherwise he wouldn't say that. Now I think the next step is to get your first 5, 10 games, 15 games in, and then you kind of go, oh yeah, I'm back to normal.
And the intensity
against real players
of those 5 or 10 first, month of the NHL season isn't going to be what he played coming off the injury either in the playoffs. So that's a good thing. The thing that stands out for me is, and this was addressed in this, so that's why I'm bringing it up. This is at the Finnish orientation they had getting ready because you have to start. The Olympics is different than just, hey, name a 4 nations roster and pop in. You have 6 months of doping testing you have to do to make sure that you're IOC compliant, and I'm not going to get all the details of that. He missed the 4 nations. He had to watch Finland have a tough tournament. They didn't play real well. I thought Mikael Granlund looked great. We all know why Mikko Rantanen struggled. It was sort of in the middle of him going from Colorado to Carolina, and then he didn't even know he would end up in Dallas. I didn't think Roope Hintz had a very good 4 nations. Finland overall probably underperformed to what their expectations were. And they won the gold medal the last time. Now, it wasn't the full NHL teams in the last Olympics, but they will still have the pride of doing that. How important for a guy like Miro is to be representing his country, especially considering how important he is to his country. I
mean, there's obviously that motivation for him. And we know from European players that that's bigger than anything else representing your country. I mean, I don't know if it's the same way with Americans, Canadians, but I just feel that the Europeans, that is their Stanley Cup.
Olympic gold probably more important than a Stanley Cup,
it's their
right?
chance to show, right? Everyone just talks about U.S. and Canada. It's a chance for Finland to win the gold and shock the world. And Miro played in the Olympics, right? After he was drafted when it wasn't NHL players, 2018.
You'd have to look it up.
I'm pretty sure he did, but it's such a big deal, and it's big for this game because it shows that on the highest level. It shows that Finland or Sweden can compete with a Canada or with that, and I expect Finland to know that. What you just said, Owen, they underperformed. They missed their biggest player, and Heiskanen would have changed the way they played the game. But they're going to come into this Olympics with a chip on their shoulder, and they have half the Dallas Stars roster to help them out in that case.
Our crack research team, Sam's right. Yeah. He did play 2018. That was the Pyongyang in Korea, and he played 5 games, had a goal. He also played in the World Championships, not the World Juniors. He played there too, but the Senior World Championships twice in 2018 that year. And then again in 2022, and you remember that the Stars got eliminated after the first round with Calgary in 22.
Well, let me ask you about the ultimate Finn. Who do I think is the ultimate Finn, by the way?
It's got to be Jiri Lehtinen.
Yes. Is he part of the... I'm guessing.
Of course he is. He's the Finnish national team general manager.
He does it all.
But he's part of the whole program yet. So I just look at when Let's is part of that thing. I look at that team, and now when they have all of their guys healthy, they're going to be tough to play against.
Yeah.
Just because of the style that they play and how they play the game. It's different than a lot of,
But
and they always seem to be in it, even when they don't have good teams. Because
they don't have the
right
depth
way.
though on the blue line that some of these like U.S. and Canada have, and even Sweden for that matter. So that's why Miro being out was such a big deal. Yanni Hakanpää couldn't play. They were hoping he could be, that big body. I don't know if he will be able to. Frankly, I mean, it sort of looks like it's the end of things for.
Well, when they're playing on big ice, those kind of players aren't as impactful as they are in the NHL rank because there's just further to travel.
Miro, on the other hand,
Miro's different because Miro, the way he's going to navigate, again, we'll see that, and I won't even take that when you watch the Olympics and watch the way that he'll play in the Olympics, and then come back to the NHL thing. It's totally different.
Yeah,
I mean, this is where he's gonna shine in the Olympics for sure.
All right, so that's good news from the Dallas Stars perspective that Miro Heiskanen at least says, and no reason to believe that he isn't telling the truth, his knee is back to 100% ahead. Now, a month and a half away from the start of training camp. So that's good news for the Dallas Stars heading into the 25-26 season.